Fisher. Yes, I'm his wife. What is this about?
What?
When American Beauty was released, all of a sudden everybody in town wanted to meet with me. But when Carolyn Strauss from HBO called and said, okay, I'll take this meeting, she said, you know, I have this idea that I've been playing around with. I would like to do a show that is set in a family-run funeral home. And something in my head just went click. I thought, wow, that is such a great idea.
We've done things that nobody else has done on television.
God, I'm not going to see you every day. That's going to be weird.
It's not just the show ending, it's this chapter of my life, all of our lives ending.
Everyone in the cast, I have a bond that will always be in me.
I'm going to miss my kids. I'm going to miss my wife. I'm going to miss them.
I'm really thankful to work with these people, you know.
All good things come to a closing point.
Ultimately, will be remembered as a show that helped change the landscape of TV.
It's raised the bar way high, and I think that will be its legacy.
When I wrote the pilot, I just had all of this stuff I needed to express. I had just poured all this energy into this television series that had been canceled. I needed to write it. Instinctively, I knew these are people who face death, who deal with other people's death. They have to deal with the death of one of their own. My sister was killed in a car accident. I know what that horrific moment of just, existence just knocks you out of where you were into a completely different world.
Your father is dead. Your father is dead, and my pot roast is ruined.
What?
My dad just got hit by a bus, and it broke his neck, and he's dead.
I went in for a meeting with Chris and Carolyn, and she said, I really like it, but there's some things that just feel a little safe. Could you just maybe make the whole thing just a little more fucked up? And, I picked my jaw up off the floor because that's not a note you get from a network.
You have to pay for that cantaloupe.
You fuck off!
In terms of it being a pilot, I tried to create as many doors that could be opened as possible. As to where they would eventually go, I had no idea.
We'll deal you in next hand.
I knew what David's arc would be for the first season. I knew it would be, his journey to self-acceptance. Aside from that, I didn't really know.
It was a really interesting experience to make the first season. We made it in a vacuum. We shot all 13 episodes before anyone had ever seen anything. And I didn't know how it would be received. And then people liked it. I think it's just a testament to, I don't think that audiences need to be sheltered from difficult subject matter.
Why do people have to die?
To make life important.
I think we live in a culture that wants to deny that death exists. We make great entertainment out of it. We make all these slasher movies, which in a way trivialize it and don't make it real. And there's some horrible statistic where the average person has witnessed, thousands of simulated deaths on TV and in the movies by the time they become 21. But our culture does not really acknowledge the reality of death.
I could just keel over right now, and isn't that amazing? Anytime. I could be walking out of the studio right now and something would just fall onto my head and I'm gone.
We certainly don't like to talk about or dwell on death in this society. And we're engaged in a war in which we don't want to photograph the coffins that are coming home.
I was just actually reading the other day in the Tibetan book of the dead, and the Tibetans actually train their whole lives on how to deal with death. And in our culture, it's anything but. Sorry to get so morbid, America. Deal with death, America.
You think of Jaws, you think of that girl getting killed by the shark. I mean, you are sucked in. You are in that movie. I just felt like, well, we need to do that. This is a show about death. Let's kill somebody every week.
I hesitate to say it's my favorite because I know it's on everybody's top 10 list, but, you know, the three women celebrating the divorce of one of them.
And she has her head stuck out of the limo.
Oh, yeah.
Boom!
I'm king of the world!
Her face just gets smashed.
Yeah, so that was pretty gross. I like that one a lot.
On the driving range, she hits the golf ball in it. I like the dog in that scene. I'm totally oblivious that her owner has just bit the dust.
There's no formula. Sometimes it came out of the news. For example, there was a football player who died of heat stroke. Sometimes we would say, you know what, we need a funny death.
The guys had the truckload of blow-up porn dolls, you know, and the woman who thought that was the rapture. I was so brilliant.
The shooting up in the office. That one just felt really kind of, whoa, that kind of had me speechless.
The husband and wife, they've been married for quite some time, and the old lady's listening to the man. He's just, yeah, shut up. Whoa.
The most personal one for me was obviously where my little brother died.
Oh, fuck!
When my dad died, I guess, would be the most poignant one to me.
And a kind of great Alan Ball tradition of killing off the patriarchs.
Its arbitrariness, its sense of the macabre. It's wonderful to laugh at death. Our seriousness about death is really our effort to reject all truly deeply spiritual thinking is embrace it. Embrace it.
We had always thought, well, we have this show that's, it's edgy, it's very HBO, it's offbeat, it has some sex and some profanity, and this slightly morbid milieu. It'll get some fans, but I think we had limited expectations in terms of how quickly it would catch on. And that is less about what a great idea, life in a funeral home, and much more about the Fishers. Alan and I both have a tremendous love of actors, tremendous respect for the craft of acting. We both get really excited when you see somebody who really knows their craft. We both come from theater, and you see a lot of that on our show. A lot of our cast come from theater backgrounds. So our rule of thumb generally is everybody has to read, everybody has to audition, and we pick the best actor for the job.
So, were you ever going to tell me your name? I got the script, and my agent told me to look at the role of David. So I read for David, and I got a phone call saying that they wanted me to come in for Nate. And I thought, it's just going to be one of those things where they like me for David, and I'm going to go in for Nate, and I'm not going to get either role. And then I looked at the script again, and I noticed there were some striking similarities between Nate and myself at the time.
I am assistant manager of organic produce at the highest volume food co-op in Seattle.
Peter brings this amazing everyman quality to this character, who is easily the most spiritual character on the show.
I'm so sorry.
Who's she?
This is,
Brenda Chenoweth.
Brenda Chenoweth.
Brenda was a very difficult role to cast. I wanted Brenda to be very, very smart. I wanted her to have an unapologetic sexuality, but one that wasn't at all remotely woman packaged for male consumption kind of sexuality, because she's too smart for that.
Are you familiar with the psychological term projection?
Oh, are you familiar with the psychological term below me?
I was in Australia, and my manager faxed the pilot through, and I literally read it as it was coming off my fax machine.
She's an amazing actress, but Brenda has to be American. She can't be Australian.
About an hour later, I rang him back, and I said, I think I really want to do this.
And so she came in and she met, and clearly demonstrated that she could do a flawless American dialect.
Any woman with half a brain looks at a guy like you and thinks, good for a hot fuck, but believe me, that's it.
And I just sort of had a big sigh of relief. It was like, okay, I've got my name, Brenda.
I need to talk to you now, please. It's urgent. I'm high. I'm Crystal. I smoked some with some friends before David called me.
You did what?
Don't worry, it's the first time, but I think I'm having some kind of meltdown, and I can't tell if it's Dad being dead or the crystal, but I'm really scared.
She came in day one. She was late. She was the last person. And
I remember her audition.
Yes.
And she was.
I could do.
Brilliant.
Oh, well. It's too late now.
All the actresses read, and somebody said, I don't know, I just don't know if I buy her being, really high and really fucked up and really scared. I said, well, let's give her a second chance. And I went out, and she was like, I don't do drugs. I've never done crystal meth. What is it like?
If I may quote him, he was like, just really fucked up. And he came out to the hall and was telling me to do that.
Claire, are you having sex? What? You're doing drugs? You're kind of freaking me out right now.
Well, it's an amazing time to meet a character when they're in high school, 17, 18 years old, and really self-involved and really just doing your own thing, and then all of a sudden life catches up to you. So I think that was an interesting way to start the show.
Well, the interesting thing, for me, when we were casting David and Keith, even in this day and age, a lot of people did not want to play gay. I'm not a big subscriber to the idea that for a straight actor to play gay now is a huge act of bravery, but I do believe that for a straight actor to not want to play a character because he's gay is a huge act of cowardice. And so I gotta applaud Michael and Matthew because neither one of them are even remotely cowardly.
Is something wrong?
No, nothing's wrong. This is Keith Charles. He's a friend of mine. He came to pay his respects to Dad.
It's nice to meet you, Mrs. Fisher. I'm really sorry about your husband.
You're friends with a cop?
I was cautious in the beginning, honestly. I didn't want to do anything that was stereotypical. I know about stereotypes. I'm a black man. I live that life every day. And I just think that it wasn't something that I wanted to participate in. I wanted to go to that place where the relationship is about love. And that's what I based my character in. I based my character in love. Don't hesitate to call me.
Sure.
I mean it, David. You don't have to go through this alone.
I gotta go.
When you're at a club and, you see cats that are all tatted up or whatever, and they're like, you're playing the hell out of that character. And we love that. It's like, it's kind of crazy, but it just goes to show it's all about what's in here. Hey, don't you get exhausted being so hard on everyone and yourself?
Shut up. I was in New York. I was playing the MC in the Broadway production of Cabaret at the time. Totally up for anything pansexual, party, boy. And, I read the script for 6 Feet Under, and I said, I know how to do this. I'll just slam every single door shut that I've flown wide open to play this MC character.
Damn, she looks good. You took Polaroids, right?
Polaroids? I borrowed Jacob's digital camera. I worked with Alan in '99. It was my first attempt at sitcom, and this was pre-American Beauty. So, I went in like every other actor and auditioned for it. And one day he pulled me to the side and just said, I wrote this character with you in mind. And it completely floored me that he would remember me after he won the Oscar.
Your marriage has always been so strong. You'll be home soon.
No, I cheated on Vanessa. She'll never forgive me.
Federico!
We went to HBO, had a great big meeting, and talked about a jillion names. And you can hardly really remember in those initial meetings, but I do remember very specifically at that HBO meeting that Frances Conroy's name came up.
Yes.
And it was like, everybody who knew Frances, it was like, that is perfect.
How's she doing? She's fine.
I'm not fine. I'm a whore. I was unfaithful to your father for years, and now he knows.
Am I like Ruth? I think in most ways I'm not like Ruth.
in the everyday reality that she has. But she has informed me of her dilemmas within the script. So I have gone into those realms and have been very deeply affected by them, at being Ruth.
I am not angry.
Franny's just an amazing, amazing actress. I remember I was directing the pilot. There's that scene at the grave, you know, where Nathaniel, where she just lets go.
Her hat comes off, and she starts making these guttural animal sounds. And the amazing thing is we did it from every angle possible, and then we did so many takes of that, and she was just so beautiful for so long. She did that scene so many times. Oh man, that was, and I was sitting there going, oh, I have so much to learn on this job.
My approach to running the show was I'm sitting in a room with 7 of the smartest, funniest, most talented writers with the most interesting life history that I have ever known in my life. These people are going to come up with stuff that I can't come up with on my own.
All the characters live inside all of us, and all of our lives are represented in the show. We all sit in a room together. There's like 7 of us and Alan, and we have a big, huge white dry erase board. And we start by just making in the first few weeks of the season, making kind of really wide arc things. Claire goes to art school. Nate and Lisa get married.
One phrase you hear a lot from Alan in the writer's room is, that's too linear. Alan's very suspicious of one thing happening and then another thing happening in response to it. You know, if you make David mad in scene 1, David doesn't go be mean to someone else in scene 2. David goes and does something, really nice for someone in scene 2, and then explodes in scene 3.
Dave, please. God, you know nothing. Nothing.
Alan understands how sadness and laughter are the same. They come from the same place. And how, people laugh in funerals.
Look at you now, you fucking pig!
It's black humor. I think life is a tragic comedy, and this show very much bears that out.
I don't know if the show sort of broke ground or if it was just sort of a zeitgeist change, but now there's more culturally that is not just sort of definable as comedy or tragedy or drama. The two are intermingling, I think, much more comfortably.
You think I didn't want to abort you and Billy? But your father talked me out of it both times, and the rest is history.
People respond to how treacherous it is, sort of the human dynamic and sort of just forging a connection with other people.
I need to feel like you like me again.
Ruth, you're my favorite person.
I think at its best, 6 Feet Under has presented a very humane and relatable argument for all the subversive things that the outsiders in our culture want to hear said.
After seeing your orgasm, I really, really want one.
What I find interesting about them is the intensity of the repression, the sort of repression that pushes David into a parking garage with a male hooker, or that sends Ruth to the track to lose $25,000.
You lost $25,000? It's just gone?
I suppose it still exists. It's just not mine anymore.
Having such amazing female characters for a start, such rich and unexpected full women, and a range of women in one show.
Somewhere along the line, I started to realize I was no longer the youngest or prettiest girl in the room.
You know you're much more than that.
Yeah, you're a drug addict.
I call it Alan Ball world, where there can be moments of very heightened reality and then moments of fantasy. And I think we all fell in love with it with American Beauty, and I think the world has fallen in love with it because I feel like the tone of entertainment has sort of gone that way.
I knew when I read the pilot, as we all did, it was one of these things where you're a group of people, you all read the script, you all get together for the first table reading, you're all in it, and you know this is really something extraordinary.
Amen. Amen.